So welcome to the Film Podcast. In my previous deep dive of the Toy Story films, I asked the question, do we need another Toy Story? So let's explore that answer a little. The box office is massive so far, and it's only been out for like 3 or 4 days. And the screening that I was at, it was almost full. And it's like, what? It's a Monday. So what about Toy Story 5? How is it? If you take a little bit of the emotional heart from Toy Story 2, if you take a new theme about technology versus real friendship, a little revisit of the Al's Toy Barn Buzz Lightyear that we kind of meet in that film, a reference to the Buzz aisle in Toy Story 2. The Buzzes kind of remind me a little bit of Predator Badlands for some reason. I don't know why. It must be the robots in that, because there are robots in the Badlands film and they get, and it's for some reason I got the feels for Predator Badlands, which wasn't a bad film. It was all right. You've Got a Friend in Me. It doesn't show up at all. Unless I missed it, it's not in the movie. The song is not there. And again, in Toy Story 5, if you put Woody as a sort of side character, mimicking exactly what happened in Toy Story 4, if you mix in some really massive character arcs, then you've just about got Toy Story 5. All right, so for me, right, my initial reaction to this is more like this construction of it as a movie and the construction of it as a Toy Story sequel. I don't think it does anything new in that respect. I think it follows that same structure. But I guess that structure's worked for 4 movies so far. So, why change that? But the positives, right? So let's talk about some of the positives of Toy Story 5. And there's more positives than you think, to be honest. Number one positive thing is Jessie. Here with Jessie, we get back to that sentimental core that made Toy Story 2 so special. Because Toy Story 2 is a special film. Jessie's character has one of the most powerful arcs in the whole series, to be honest. She has one of the most powerful stories from her past, from her history. We kind of revisit that, sort of, in this one. And it does work. I can imagine the makers of this, they had a brainstorming session. They were stood round in some office meeting room somewhere in Pixar, and they were like, right, what are we going to do? I think they've taken bits from all of the other movies and sort of blended them all together to make this one. They found the bits that work about Toy Story 1, 2, and 3, and even some of the bits that work in Toy Story 4, because there are a couple, they've come up with this Toy Story 5. And again, it sort of works. It sort of does. It deliberately allows the audience to associate those things with the film that they're watching, particularly the older audiences. They do just enough for it not to be like a blatant rehash of the other films as well. It walks that fine line really well. There's a balance there, and they sort of get it right. I keep saying sort of, kind of, almost, because, we're talking about positives here. We're talking about positives. So they go there. They go back into Jessie's past, and they make her, face reality. They make her face the here and now, obviously associating that with her past. We use that as a main point in this film to sort of get us emotionally. It just gives you enough heart. She has to face the possibility of once again being left alone. And she has to face her literal history in her literal old house. She's kind of got herself into this situation where, she is a lost toy, because although she's back in the place where she used to live in her original child's home, she's still a lost toy. She feels the fear, basically. She gets the fear. It is, and it has been, Jessie's deep melancholic outlook throughout all of the Toy Story films since she was in number 2. That element of her character has always been bubbling away underneath, but crucially, she never becomes a caricature of her old self. And the emphasis has definitely switched from Woody to her being the sheriff in Bonnie's room. Because if you remember at the end of Toy Story 4, Woody kind of leaves, right? He goes off to do something, and that's it, he's gone. All right, so I have to mention it, right? Talked about Jessie taking over from Woody. Have they done it? Have they pushed out the male heroes? Have they girl-bossed Jessie to fit in with the message? No. Nope. Don't listen to those moaners. You might have already seen some of the videos about it. You look at the thumbnails and you listen to them go on, and you listen to their hour-long debates about it. Again, it's the bandwagoning fake outrage that gets them views and shit like that. That's what they've done. They've just done the same thing they always do when anything slightly different happens to their beloved male characters. But again, this is Toy Story, right? The kids watching it are not going to give a shit about any of that stuff. And the kids watching it are just going to see Jessie, who is a fab character, 100% worthy character as well, doing the thing instead of Woody, who literally left at the end of Toy Story 4 anyway. I think Jessie's well earned her place here in the Toy Story universe, just based on what we see in Toy Story 2 and 3. You know, stuff from the days before woke. Woody and Buzz here in Toy Story 5, we do need to talk about that though, because as I said, Woody left at the end of Toy Story 4. That big emotional thing that they all did was him, you know, disappearing off with Bo to become some sort of maverick toy doing stuff, not really sure what. I mean, Toy Story 4 was a complete mess. That's where we are, and this is where we are, and this is what had to happen anyway, right? I mean, Jessie was already law kind of person anyway. She was in Woody's Roundup gang. She was part of the fabric of Woody as a person anyhow. So, I mean, it does make sense. The moaning about wokey, bigoty, whatever they're called, they'll just moan about Jessie being a girl boss. But honestly, she's not a girl, but she isn't one in this film. She's just Jessie. She's just Jessie, the same Jessie that she's always been as a character. So what's the problem? Of course that's the problem. But again, if we think about Toy Story 4, Buzz was literally relegated to like some weird side character. And so was Jessie, to be fair. In fact, most of the toys that aren't Woody, they were all relegated to side characters in Toy Story 4. You see my review of those other films because, you know, it explains it all there. But here in Toy Story 5, Buzz and Jessie are both main characters. And of course, I can see the angle the professional film moaner is going to take with this. I can see what they'd say about Buzz. If you observe all of the Toy Story films, Buzz had his big story in Toy Story 1. The whole thing was about Buzz integrating himself into Andy's room with Andy's toys, you know, being part of the family. And that is where all of his changes and character growth and all of that, they already happened in Toy Story. So it would seem silly to revisit that now when he already is the hero that he was always meant to be. And I will say, though, it is a bit weird here in Toy Story 5 with Buzz trying to propose to Jessie. I mean, he does spend most of the movie trying to do that. It's kind of weird and it looks completely out of place. You know, don't forget the romances that we used to see in the original Disney animations, for example. Maybe that's a hark back to them. I don't know. Maybe the writers thought, hey, let's put a bit of romance in there and, you know, it'll remind everybody who's watching of those classic Disney animations. Snow White and Cinderella, I suppose. And is it me, or is it now woke to have a man character proposing to a woman character in a movie? Is that woke? Is that? I don't know. Okay, so let's break it down. Is it woke to have a boy toy propose to a girl toy? Is it? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Perhaps we should get Andrew Tate to write the script for Toy Story 6. Maybe we should do that. Andrew Tate's an absolute motherfucking piece of shit, wank, motherfucker. I hate that fucking can't stand the piece of shit. I think the piece of shit should go fuck himself and fuck everybody else that worships him. Fuck you, Andrew Tate. Fuck you. Anyway, all this feels like a natural evolution for Jessie's character. It does. It works. You know, Jessie's become the sort of leader of the toys in the same way that Bonnie has become the new Andy. It just sort of fits really well. And also Bonnie, right? Let's talk a little bit about her. She's another character in this film that has more of a role, I guess, in this. She becomes more of a character that we can understand and get to enjoy being with. She's developed so much better in this film than she is in Toy Story 4. You know, and I guess except for the absolutely amazing moments between Andy and Bonnie at the end of Toy Story 3, here in Toy Story 5 is where Bonnie's character really she becomes a part of the Toy Story fabric. She basically means something to the overall arc in the story, which is great. She's got depth, she's got emotion, meaning, and she's much more integrated into the story, just like the toys. And speaking of the toys, unlike Toy Story 4, we aren't overstuffed with too many characters. I think they wind that back. I think they learned from that lesson of too many things going on in Toy Story 4, too many characters, new ones, old ones. It was a mess. And they were all fighting for attention on screen as well. And I don't know, it just didn't work. The core toys are here in this one, from the original Andy's Room gang in Toy Story 1 and 2, and also the toys from Bonnie's room. You know, the rhinocerosy thing and the like hedgehoggy thing. They're all here as well, and they're all great. And they play an important piece in this movie's puzzle. And we do get to meet some new toys as well. Well, I say toys, they are devices. Because, yeah, I mean, if you've seen the trailers and stuff, then you'll know that, well, it has infected the Toy Story universe as well. Devices everywhere. But the new sort of toy characters in this, one comes in the shape of a digital camera, a very old one, an early flip phone, which is kind of cool, and a sort of like poop and wee thing. And I did actually say that, and it is actually true. And the poop and wee thing can also send and receive text messages. Okay, all right, fine. I mean, I've got to admit, I don't really know what that thing is. I guess it is for monitoring when a child starts to use the bathroom, you know, properly. But I don't know how the hell it works. No idea. And why would it need to send and receive text messages? Don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter, because as a new character in a new Toy Story film, along with the phone and along with the camera, it's fine. They great new characters. I really enjoyed being in the company of them, because they're funny. They've also got a really great little story behind them that is well developed and well thought about and makes perfect sense within the entire narrative. So what's not to love? Except, of course, like I say, not knowing what the hell the poop and wee thing is. Don't know. We've got to talk about the star villain. I think the villain in this film is very, very good. If you've got kids of Bonnie's age, then you're going to be going through this exact same thing with your kids. You're going to be wrestling with them about the usage or even the acquisition of some sort of digital touchscreen pad thing, whether it's an iPad or some sort of kid's version of an iPad or whatever. There's going to have been that discussion and most probably argument about, oh my God, you're on it too long, you're on it too often, you know, who knows what you're doing on there? Or the other argument, which is, you're not having one because I want you to continue playing with your toys and being a child for as long as you possibly can. That stuff's addressed in this film, and that's very, very relevant to now, especially if you're a parent. And I suppose especially if you're a kid, because, you know, you can take the side of Bonnie, who wants the device, who just, you know, wants to get absorbed in it. Or, you know, as I say, if you're a parent, you can sort of get the parent side of it, which is like, oh my God, please stop using that damn thing. I wish I'd never got it for you. So Lily Pad is the baddie. She is the tablet that gets gifted to Bonnie. It's got a kid's social media app on it. It's got games, sort of like Roblox, I guess. And more importantly, it connects to the outside world, yet strangely disconnects the kids who use it. The context of Lily is very, very smart. I mean, it is. It's well done. She's pretty evil. I mean, she is the villain of the film, but she's evil in that clever Toy Story way. I suppose kind of like one of the best things about Toy Story 4, which was Gabby Gabby. She was kind of similar, to be fair. She was evil and a bit crazy, but not without a reason and not without a redemption. And you know, Lily, as I said, Lily Pad in Toy Story 5 is pretty nasty to the other toys. Because she looks at them and thinks, fuddy-duddy, old, balding, rubbish nonsense. That is basically stuff for the bin. She looks at them like that. She addresses them like that. She's horrible. She is a good bad guy, for sure. She gets the toys sent to the garage in a box, which you might have seen in the trailer. She sounds her alarm, which stops any of the other toys from powering her down, because they do try. It is smartly done, clever villainry. It's really good. And there's a particular shot where it sort of looks up at Lily, who's sitting there on her charging pad, like some sort of evil queen. The way that it's framed and the lighting and everything, and she's so dominant in the frame. She's sitting there on her charging pad, looking evil. And as a character, I guess she's there because she's got a very distinct message written within her about the dangers of technology. This technology engulfing the kids' lives, like completely and totally immersing themselves in this world that this screen creates for them, and ignoring everything else that's outside of that. It's not just the kids that get it here with that kind of, you know, staring at devices and stuff, because there are some shots, particularly in a couple of montages, where Bonnie is there, you know, doing bits and bobs on her tablet, and then the camera pans to the other side of the living room, and the parents are doing exactly the same thing on their phones. Because let's face it, we do all sit there like this most of the time, adults or kids. What have we become? There's a really great sequence, actually, where Jesse and Bullseye go to the roof of the house. You know, they're getting warned by some of the other toys that have been abandoned in a garden somewhere about what happens when one of these devices gets introduced to a child. They stand on the rooftops and they look across the town and they see all of these windows glowing with this sort of unnatural blue light. And in each of the windows, in the apartments and the houses, we can see all the kids using their, devices in their bedrooms and stuff, just lost in them. I guess it's kind of an iconic shot, to be honest, because it delivers the message that it's trying to give in a very simple way. And it looks gorgeous and it means so much when you see it. I think that the Toy Story films are all crafted cleverly enough to have all of those messages in there anyway. I think it's important that they put them in there because it gives the films a longevity and it gives you the ability as a grown-up, I suppose, to watch them multiple times, because when they're on Disney Plus, then yes, you're going to have to sit through them many, many times. There needs to be things in there that you can enjoy watching because you're going to have to watch these films, along with all of the other Disney content, probably a million times if you've got kids. And for kids, it works. I mean, it's got enough zany bits in it. It's fun enough to have that sort of magic that kids will enjoy completely. And it's epic enough to bring that wide-eyed wonder, that you get when you have kids that are watching something amazing on screen. They react to it in such a pure and amazing way. And I think Toy Story 5 does have some of those moments. Just like Toy Story 1, 2, and 3, it works on two levels. Adults and kids can enjoy it equally, and it does it effortlessly. So what's wrong with it? Although I've been extremely positive so far about it, there are some problems as well. So let's get out of here and let's get into the issues with Toy Story 5. I think I touched on this a little bit earlier. Woody is one of the problems here, right? He's a side character, again, like he is in Toy Story 4. This time he's a weird side character. We all know Woody. We've been with Woody throughout every single Toy Story film that's ever been released. Yet here, he feels like someone that we don't know. And maybe that's because it's intentional. He did leave the toys, he did disappear. We don't know for how long, but, that's kind of what happened at the end of Toy Story 4. They do try and reel him back into the original Woody that he was, but I think the damage has been done already anyway. I think it's ruined a little bit. They age him up, and that's kind of funny. I mean, that does work really well. The bald thing, the large tummy thing, it's all right. That works okay. But again, I just think the overall character of Woody has been tainted slightly because of Toy Story 4. And I think they do try and bring it back to the original Woody, but it doesn't work because it's too late. But again, Jesse kind of fills that gap really well. I think if we were going to say a hero carries the film and is the emotional core of it, Jessie is. And she succeeds very well in doing that, for sure. So the other thing is the buzzers. All the buzzers. They are shipwrecked from the container thing. They're like modern buzzers with the connectivity. It just doesn't really work. I think it's too forced into it. And what I mean by that is, they don't need to be there at all. We see them on a quest to go, well, I don't even know what the quest is for. I don't know. They act like Reset Buzz, or as I said before, the buzzes that you see in Al's Toy Barn in number 2. It's very disjointed and it's very messy. It doesn't quite flow well enough against all the other things. So yeah, the buzzes are a misstep here. Some of it was funny and some of it was annoying, and overall I just didn't think it needed to be there. I think everything else that happens is enough without it. You know what I mean? But having said that, I think Toy Story 5 is a million times better than Toy Story 4. It does have 70% of the magic of Toy Story 1, 2, and 3. It does have those moments that work exactly like a Toy Story should. And if you think about Toy Story 5 as a thing in general, I guess to be as good as Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 as a trilogy, as a story that's told across 3 movies, Toy Story 5 would have to be pretty damn special to live up to them anyway. And I think it almost gets there. It misses the mark, but you can see that it's got those moments that mean something. It's got those magical moments that are special. It just, I don't know, it's just like, there's something missing. Maybe it's the disjointedness of some of the scenes in there, I guess. And we know from 1, 2, and 3 what we're aiming for, essentially. All right then, so let's talk a little bit about the story of Toy Story 5. We start off cargo ship filled with Buzz Lightyears, as I said before. Weird, but you know, it happened. They're all in demo mode, and they do all this stuff where they look up at the stars and they go on a crane and they're sort of looking at the thing and they try and find their way back to Star Command. Then we cut to Bonnie. Bonnie receives a frog-themed device called a lily pad. It's a tablet, essentially. As I said, kind of like an iPad Fire TV thingy, but for kids. Their mum and dad get it for her, with the idea of trying to help Bonnie socialise. As these things are designed, Bonnie becomes addicted to the lily pad. She starts to neglect the toys, and we see, again, another sequence of them kind of just being discarded all over the floor or just pushed into drawers and cupboards and that kind of thing. And, we think to ourselves, okay, this is starting to make sense here. We can see where this is going. There's a really good scene in there where Jessie explains to Lily exactly what the score is and what the procedures are and how it goes down in Bonnie's room. But as I said, I think Lilypad is that sort of evil queen character. Do you know what I mean? She wants her own thing. She thinks she knows it all because she's the modern, fancy toy. So she doesn't take any notice whatsoever of what Jessie says, which in turn kind of hurts Jessie. You can see Jessie's heart get a little bit broken again because of this, because what's happened to her in the past is bubbling up once again. But Jessie basically says to Lily, look, Bonnie needs a real human friend. She's always been kind of isolated anyway. She's that kind of child. And she needs to make a human friend, not to just stare at you for hours and hours, not really getting anywhere and not really doing anything. So Lily kind of takes the initiative and says, hey, look, I'm just going to send loads of friend requests to, the other people in Bonnie's class. That'll work. That'll fix the problem. Well, guess what? It doesn't fix the problem. Makes it a lot worse, to be honest. And that's where Jessie also starts to descend into this Jessie that we saw in Toy Story 2. There's a sequence which completely harks back to that very upsetting sequence where Jessie, describes to Woody what it was like to lose the love of her child. So basically, the story descends into this situation where Jessie ends up in her original home, in the home where the heartbreak happened in the first place. And that's kind of where the story becomes something a little bit special and a little bit back to the old feelings that Toy Story gives the viewer, and it all rests and depends on the characters and what happens to them and how they make you feel when they feel something themselves. And I think this film does have a lot of that in it, and it does work. Let's not get any more into the story. Let's just, I think I've given you enough to sort of get a taste for what it's all about. All right, let's keep going. Let's carry on. And we'll talk a little bit about the director. And we can sum up this thing. So Andrew Stanton is the director of Toy Story. It was part of his vision that brought us Toy Story in the first place. And that's pretty awesome. That is filmmaking legendary status, let's be honest. He might not have been on sets with actors and, sort of wrangling all that stuff, but you know how annoying and horrific computers can be. So can you imagine how horrible it must have been to have a strict deadline with millions of dollars at risk, rendering stuff on computers that don't like heat, that don't like pressure, that know when you need to do something? Well, can you imagine what it must have been like rendering any of the Toy Stories? I think there's actually a thing where, I think it might have been Toy Story 2. There was some sort of catastrophic computer hard drive failure, and the entire movie was erased, completely erased off the servers at Pixar. Gone. All of that 4 years' work just disappeared. A working from home staff member that had a backup of the whole entire movie on a hard drive or some hard drives back home, and she saved it. She saved Toy Story from being completely erased. I think it was Toy Story 2. That's both an advocate for having backups, but also an advocate for working from home. If we look at Andrew Stanton's filmography, you've got A Bug's Life, which again is another really meaningful film. I remember seeing it on the big screen, and I remember feeling that sort of, those, you know, the Apocalypse Now moments. They've got a tribute to that in it, and also the whole stuff about, you know, the dictators are nothing when the people kind of realize that the dictators are nothing without them. You know, it's got those messages in it. Really, it's a really smart film, and it's all right as well. Finding Nemo. I mean, you must have seen Finding Nemo, and again, another amazing film, a visual masterpiece. Wall-E, again, another amazing film. It's a tribute to stuff like Silent Running, as well as a tribute to stuff like, there's so many tributes in there to some of those amazing ye olde science fiction films. Finding Dory, which is I know it's a worthy sequel to an amazing movie. It carries on the concept of, you know, Dory's memory loss and all of that kind of thing. And it works, it's okay. He directed a film called In the Blink of an Eye, which I've not seen, and he also directed the live-action John Carter, but without the Of Mars bit, which, I mean, it was all right, John Carter, it was okay. Here he's done Toy Story 5, and I think he's made a right success of it. He's done well. Visually, it's gorgeous. It's got the animation style that is really pretty to look at, the lighting effects, the colour tone, the texture, the clarity, the precision of the animation is all stunningly gorgeous. It's all rendered beautifully, but it still keeps that Toy Story glow about it. Still got that Toy Story thing, that look that all the other Toy Stories have. So indeed, let's sum up Toy Story 5. Toy Story 5 is a movie that I guess needed to exist because we couldn't have left it at Toy Story 4. It's just wrong. And what they do here in Toy Story 5 is they manage to create a movie that sort of ignores number 4, but it's still got some baggage from that movie. Some of the ideas that were in 4 are still, I suppose, unavoidably in number 5. And those are the bits that are the weakest parts of this film. Those are the bits that let Toy Story 5 down. The stuff that is carried over from number 4. But 5 is well done. 5 looks good, it sounds good, the things that people say are good, the character arcs are good, and I don't think it's that disappointing. It's got some moments that are missteps, it's got some stuff that doesn't quite work, but the overall idea and the overall feeling of it is definitely very, very good. And I don't want to sit here and go on about what all those other YouTube morons have gone on about Jessie and the girl boss stuff and all of that, because it's not there. It doesn't exist in this film. It's not like that. It's got a heart and soul to it, and that is done through Jessie. And Jessie, as I've said, is a worthwhile character to do it with because she's got that history already. She's a very important piece of the Toy Story character puzzle, and it works in that sense. So ignore what the moaners say. It's not a girl boss thing. They tried that with Bo Peep, and it just didn't work at all. Here, Jessie carries the whole damn thing, and it's an emotional piece of filmmaking, once again. And I'm glad that it is, and I'm glad that it exists, and I'm glad we're not left with Toy Story 4 as the final Toy Story film. So, I do recommend it. I do recommend, especially if you're a fan of all the other Toy Story films, then it's a no-brainer, right? Go and see this one. It is fun and it is enjoyable. And the new characters are also great as well. None of them are annoying and they all feel right in their place. So anyway, thank you for watching the Film Podcast. The next review is going to be a very interesting film to talk about because, well, I mean, kind of like Toy Story 5 here, it's got some hate. So let's see how it goes in the next review on the channel. But until that happens, take care of yourselves and thank you so much for watching. Remember to just leave a like and maybe subscribe if you enjoyed this video, because, you know, we're just going to keep on making videos here talking about the latest films, and, you know, let me know what you think about Toy Story. Do you like it? Is it good? Is it rubbish? Does it lose everything that was built before it in the Toy Story 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching this review of Toy Story 5. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again in the next one.